motorcycles are just... Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasoda Nandana Prajajanna Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Prajajanna Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasoda Nandana Prajajanna Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Prajajanna Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna. So this is the first time I've ever done this. So this will be a new experience for me. So I was asked by Balaram Prabhu to speak on this subject here, solving world problems by participating in the highest welfare work. So there's many problems in the material world. Now we're all experiencing this this horrible incident with George Floyd, who was killed by an officer. And all over the world now there's protests because of this atrocious activity by an officer, police officer. Actually, all over the world, well, at least here in America, the slogan is, the police say on the side of their cars, to serve and to protect. So unfortunately, we're seeing that that's not always the case. So one of the big things that the people are saying, the protesters, is black lives matter. Black lives matter. And it's true, everybody matters. You know, we're all part of Krishna, everyone matters. But it's also important that people understand that animals also matter. They're proposing that it's very important that black lives matter, but at the same time, they're killing animals, innocent animals, just to eat, just for the satisfaction of their tongue. The cow gives us milk and cheese and butter and ghee, so many nice things, but in return we slice the throat of the cow. So this is also pretty atrocious, not only George Floyd being killed, but so many animals are being killed every day all over the planet just to satisfy people's tongues. So this is, of course, now is a big movement, a vegan movement. So a lot of people are going this direction, that understanding that animals' lives also matter. So Balaram Prabhu, he asked me to speak from a very important verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is about welfare of the people in the world. So this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, text number 44. Prayena deva muniyo svamimukti kama maunam charanti vijane na pararti nishta naitan vihaya kipanan vimu muksa eko nanyam tvad asya saranam brahmato nupasye. So this is a verse spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, one of the great acharyas in our line of Vaishnavas. Although such a young child, he spoke this amazing verse. And there's also an amazing purport given to us by Srila Prabhupada. Prahlad Maharaj says, "My dear Lord Nrsingadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance. Not caring for the big cities and towns, they go to the Himalayas or to the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Mauna Vrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet." Purport. This is the decision of the Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. So we're going to gradually go through this purport. Prabhupada, this is a powerful sentence, this first sentence, that this is the decision of devotees of the Lord, that they want to help people. They're interested in helping people, not just in themselves. Therefore, there's something called a Bhajananandi and Gosthianandi. Bhajananandi is someone who's interested in their own spiritual advancement, which is okay. That's glorious. I mean, there's many great Vaishnavas. Gaura Das Babaji, he was a Bhajananandi. He had his disciple is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So they're great Vaishnavas, no doubt. But to be a Gosthianandi means someone who is not only interested in their own spiritual advancement, but they're also interested in helping others advance in their journey back to Krishna. Prabhupada gives an example that it's very nice if you make rasgulas for yourself to offer to Krishna and then honor, but if you make thousands of rasgulas for others, which is more glorious? It's more glorious to not only give for yourself, but to help others as well. So this is the Sankirtan mission, that we're also interested in helping others. And therefore, it's stated, Priti Viti Achayata Nagaradigram Sarva Trapachoya Morinam, that the name of Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be spread to every town and village throughout the world. Now, there's an interesting pastime with Srila Prabhupada in relation to this verse. There was one godbrother of Srila Prabhupada who read this verse. This is maybe in 1935 or so. And you may know that Prabhupada, he had a house there, or apartment there in Calcutta, and he would invite his godbrothers, and they would have sadhu sangha at his apartment. And this one devotee, godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, couldn't understand how this is possible, that the name of Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu be spread to every town and village throughout the world. So he was asking the devotees there at this sadhu sangha at Prabhupada's apartment. And he wasn't very satisfied with the responses of the devotees there until he asked Abhay Babu at the time. And Prabhupada said, yes, we have to have faith in the words of Scripture that this is going to happen. We may not know how it's going to happen, but this is the words of Shastra, so somehow it's going to happen. So this devotee that was questioning this statement was pleased with Prabhupada's conviction that it's going to happen. So now fast forward about 35 years, 36 years, 1971. The same devotee that was questioning this statement in Shastra, Chaitanya Charitamrita, he saw a Western devotee in India, in one city. He had never seen this before, Caucasian skin, dhoti, kurta, tilak, sika, like a Paka Vaishnava. And he was surprised, so he went to him and he said, excuse me, where are you from? So I'm from America. Oh, you're from America. Very interesting. And how did this happen? How did you become like this? He said, oh, this is the mercy of my guru. Oh, and who is your guru? He had a book, so he showed the picture of Prabhupada. And this devotee, he's looking at the picture of Prabhupada. And he looks at it and says, Abhay Babu, you did it. You did it. So Prabhupada did it. And it's still happening. All over the world, people are reading Srila Prabhupada's books and they're becoming devotees. So this is the Shakti of a pure devotee of the Lord. I was just reading in the Srimad Bhagavatam how Dhruva Maharaj, another very powerful personality, just a young boy, he had controlled his breathing, and he was suffocating the universe. Inconceivable, right? Inconceivable. So Prabhupada says in the purport that one person can become so elevated in his sadhana that he could change the atmosphere of the whole universe. So Prabhupada said that similarly, one pure devotee can change the consciousness of people throughout the world. So this is what Srila Prabhupada did, and he's still doing. So we're very fortunate. So Prabhupada, he had this decision. Of course, it came from his guru. He decided to ask Prabhupada on their first meeting to spread this message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world, or to the Western countries. So, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he decided that we have to spread this Krishna consciousness. Up to his point, and actually Krishna consciousness had practically become lost. There's so many upasampradayas and so much cheating going on, but he really picked up the pure Vaishnavism, and then he gave it to his son, and he gave it to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, gave it to Srila Prabhupada. And now we've inherited this mission of Krishna consciousness, and we can decide also on whether we want to help in spreading this Krishna consciousness around the world. And now, as Prabhupada says in the introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam, we are no longer limited to one particular country. Now we can go all over the world. So Prabhupada wanted us to continue this preaching, this book distribution, this spreading the message of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the benefit of everyone. And this is the best welfare activity that anyone can do, because this helps people go beyond the bodily conception of life. See, with this protest movement, They're protesting that they're discriminating against blacks. But sometimes also the blacks, they're discriminating against the whites. Whites, there's this black people, they're also against the white people sometimes. Not that, it's also often as well. So it's like a reaction to the white people. But we're not white and we're not black. We're not brown. We're not yellow. We're all spirit soul. And as long as people are in the bodily conception of life, there's going to be dissatisfaction. There's going to be corruption. There's going to be exploitation. There's going to be abuse. So this message that's being given to us by Krishna, by Srila Prabhupada, is meant to help everyone come to the true level of reality, that we are spirit soul. We're not black, we're not white, we're not Chinese or Russian or Spanish. This is all an illusion. And therefore, there's so much frustration throughout the world. If people were just to understand this one very important point, that we are spirit soul, that we're not this body, there would be such a change in consciousness throughout the world. There'd be such peace throughout the world. Imagine, everybody understood, I'm a spirit soul. I'm not this body. We're all brothers and sisters. We're all part of the same Father, God, Krishna, Allah, Jehovah. We're all the same, of course, but different. So this is what Krishna is giving to us, this reality, this pure message. So we should want to be servants of Krishna and give this message out. Srila Prabhupada, he once said that we should be servants of Krishna as if in military discipline. And he gave the example of sometimes an officer will tell a soldier to do something, and a good soldier will say, yes, sir. So a devotee, a good devotee of the spiritual master tells him to do something, and he's like, yes, sir. So what Prabhupada wanted more than anything else is that we spread this Krishna consciousness. Now, of course, now we're having this COVID-19, so it's a little difficult, although devotees are still distributing books online, more so now than ever before. So, and hopefully that'll increase more and more, and we'll learn how to do it more and more, and we'll get better and better at it. So there's no limit to spreading Krishna consciousness. And now gradually the country is opening up. In Georgia now they've opened up, and some of you may know that there's a group of devotees in New York City that have been distributing a lot of books and doing Harinam. But now because of the lockdown, they've left New York City. Now they're in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, doing their Harinam and book distribution there. So gradually, Krishna's going to open it up, and we'll be able to again do full-scale book distribution. But we should want to do that. And if you're not able to go out and do it yourself, then you can support book distribution. Krishna is also very pleased with that. Here in SanDiego, I remember they had this Shastra Dan. I don't know if it's still going on, but I know it was going on quite nicely here for a good amount of time. So that's another way that we could preach this message. So we'll continue with this purport. For himself, he has no problems, even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious person can go even to hell and still be happy. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj said, Naivod Vijaya Paraduratya Yavaya Taranyas, O best of the great personalities, Krishna, I am not at all afraid of material existence. Because wherever I go, I'm just engaged in the service of Krishna. So there is no problem. The pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition of life. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayana paras sarve nakutasthana bibhyati svarga pavarga narakesu apito yashadarsana. Translation: devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. For a devotee, being situated in the heavenly planets and being in the hellish planets are equal. For a devotee lives neither in heaven nor in hell, but with Krishna in the spiritual world. The secret of success for the devotee is not understood by the karmis and jnanis. Karmis therefore try to be happy by material adjustment, and jnanis want to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. The devotee has no such interest. He is not interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. Rather, his interest is in the busiest part of the world, where he teaches people Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness movement was started for this purpose. We do not teach one to meditate in a secluded place just so that one may show that he has become very much advanced and may be proud of his so-called transcendental meditation, although he engages in all sorts of foolish materialistic activity. A Vaishnava like Prahlad Maharaj is not interested in such a bluff of spiritual advancement. Rather, he is interested in enlightening people in Krishna consciousness, because that is the only way for them to become happy. Prahlad Maharaj says clearly, Nanyam tvad asya saranam brahmaton upasye. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. One wanders within the universe life after life, but by the grace of a devotee, a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can get the clue to Krishna consciousness, and then not only become happy in this world, but also return home back to Godhead. That is the real target in life. There's an interesting statement in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Narada Muni. He says that there's a bow, there's an arrow, and there's a target. The bow is the Hare Krishna mantra. The arrow is the living entity. And the target is the lotus feet of Krishna. So our target is to take shelter of Krishna, take complete shelter of Krishna, and by the bow of Krishna consciousness, Krishna will shoot us, the living entity, back to the spiritual world, and will take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. So this is our target, back to Krishna. In the material world, what is practically everyone's target? Sense gratification. But this doesn't bring satisfaction. This doesn't bring satisfaction to the soul. Just some flickering, temporary, animalistic pleasure here in this world. But in the spiritual world, there's unlimited happiness. Nobody wants to be in a situation where their happiness is limited. Right? Nobody wants. The nature of the soul is it wants to experience an ocean of happiness. But you don't experience that in this world. No one experiences that in this world. Happiness comes to a certain level, then it decreases. Therefore, there's a statement, Hlada Tapakari, that whatever we try to enjoy in this world, that very thing that we're trying to enjoy, that becomes a source of misery. So this is the nature of this world. But the nature of the spiritual world, not only does it not stop, it's always increasing. Always increasing. So we have to have this faith that this will come about. Shraddha Shabda Vishwasakaya Sudrida Nishchoy Krishna Bhakti Koi Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That faith means that by rendering devotional service to Krishna, then all success will come. And we have to serve somebody. You have to serve somebody. Everybody is serving somebody. Just like now there's a presidential election coming up. And basically, believe it or not, they're saying, I'll be the best servant of this country. Vote for me. Vote for me. So everybody is serving. Everybody is serving. It can't be avoided. And Prabhupada used to give the example of there might be some elderly people and they're serving each other. But then one dies. One of them dies. And the other one gets a dog or a cat and serves the animal. There's so much service is going on. The animals, especially the dogs and cats. But the other animals, they kill and eat. I don't want to go back into that again, but this is the nature of the soul. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sajji Kavanoi Shravanari Sudha Chitte Kurya Yudoy. The constitutional position of the living entity is to serve Krishna. And this service attitude is reawoken by engaging in the service of Krishna. This helps us wake up from this sleeping condition. Just like tonight, we're all going to go to sleep. And while we're sleeping, we don't remember who we are. But when we wake up, immediately remember, I'm Vijaya Dasa, servant here in New Govardhan. So similarly, when people wake up from this illusion that we're this body, then they realize, oh, I'm a servant to Krishna. So that's what this process is about. We're trying to wake up the living entities. People are sleeping. Or even there's a statement, Neha karma dharma ya naviraya kalpate. The tirthapada sevaya jivan api mritoisa. That if one's work does not bring one to renunciation, neha karma dharmaya, if one's work does not bring one to dharma, if one's dharma does not bring one to renunciation, and if one's renunciation does not bring one to devotional service, then one is considered to be dead, although breathing. So you know what that means? That means we have a lot of people in this world that it appears like they're alive, they're breathing, it appears like they're breathing, but they're actually dead. Therefore, you could call it the land of the living dead. They appear to be alive, but they're dead. Because, they're spiritually dead. Because they're not engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, which is our nature. This is our inherent nature. Just like the inherent nature of this finger is it serves the rest of the body. And therefore, whatever I want it to do, it does whatever I want to do. That's a healthy finger. So if we're healthy living entities, we're going to do whatever Krishna wants us to do. But if we're not healthy, if we're not spiritually healthy, then we're going to do whatever we want, and then we're not healthy. Therefore, we suffer. Just like if my finger is diseased, if it's infected, terrible infection, then it can't do what I want, and it's a disturbance to the rest of the body because I have to be very careful. I can't bump it, so I have to move very carefully. Right? So, similarly, if we're not in our constitutional position of serving Krishna, then not only are we not happy, but we're a disturbance. And therefore, throughout the world, there's so many people that are a disturbance to society, just like this officer that unnecessarily killed this citizen, U.S. citizen. And now, throughout the world, so much chaos because he was an unhealthy soul. And there's lots of them all over the world. So this process of Krishna consciousness is meant to help us become healthy spiritually. You know, it's good to be healthy materially, healthy body. We're also concerned about that. But what's most important is that people are healthy spiritually, that they know who they are, that they're spirit soul, they're part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit. This will bring happiness. And our mission, believe it or not, is an extraordinary mission in this Krishna consciousness movement. Sarva Sikhino Bhavantu. Our mission is to help everyone become happy. What a nice mission. Huh? Isn't that a wonderful mission? We're in a society where we just want to see that everybody is happy. And that's possible by Krishna consciousness. Just like Prabhupada, he used to see priests and others who were, there was one priest that said that these boys that you have, they're our boys, and they weren't interested in God at all. And now they're mad after God. And they're bright-faced. They're happy. Yeah. So this is the result of Krishna consciousness. We become bright-faced. We become happy. So we want everybody to become bright-faced, happy in Krishna consciousness. So to do that, we have to help. Somehow we have to help in whatever way we can to get this message, this very valuable message, out to the people. And book distribution is powerful. It's very powerful because within these books there's seeds. There's knowledge seeds by which people that read these books, they receive this knowledge and they grow. They grow spiritually. I'll give you an example. Imagine there's a green nursery. So many green nurseries here in San Diego. And the idea is there's trees in pots, and there's plants in these pots, and people come and they buy the tree or they buy the plant and they plant it in their home. But sometimes it happens that trees aren't sold. Yeah. They're sitting in the pot, but it's alive, so it's growing. But because it's in the pot, the roots can't go out. The roots are stumped. They're just getting all entangled within the pot. Yeah? So, similarly, it's natural that we want knowledge, especially spiritual knowledge. Just like it's very common, but little children, they have this innocence that they know there's a God. This because they have this innocence. Then when people get older, then they start questioning and speculating. But it's just natural that we know there's a creator. You see the sun. It's like now the sun is going north. Every day it's going north, further and further north, until I think it's June 20th. Then it starts going south. And every day it's going from the east to the west. Nobody's thinking that it's ever going to go from the west to the east. And that's not going to happen. For millions of years this has been going on. So, and the moon and the rain, everything, the food, the vegetables and fruits, so many nice things are coming, not by accident. This is all being arranged by Krishna. So, people want this spiritual knowledge. And because they're not getting this spiritual knowledge, they're just getting so much material knowledge. You go to the universities and you can get courses on business and engineering and computer technology, and you can get all these different things, but you can't get knowledge of the soul. And therefore people are stunted. They're stunted. They can't grow the way they should naturally grow spiritually. They're stunted, and therefore there's so much frustration. A lot of students commit suicide because they're frustrated. They can't grow spiritually. I was at one university, and one lady was setting up packs, book bags that students wear at school. And she put out 2,500 on the lawn. And I was curious. I went to her and said, why are you doing this? She said, this is the amount of people that have committed suicide this year, students, universities. So they're frustrated. But if they get spiritual knowledge, then they can be satisfied. Like so many devotees are satisfied serving Krishna. This is one of the results of practicing Krishna consciousness. We become satisfied. So let's finish this wonderful purport here. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement are not at all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest, where one will only make a show of meditation, nor are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in the cities. Rather, every member of the solution to my despair became more and more prominent in my mind. Happiness, joy, satisfaction. For me, these are only a dim memory. Aware of the blind alley I was in, I became desperate to find some solution, some shelter. Totally hopeless and lonely, wandering in darkness, somehow or other I struggled on. I tried to forget all my miseries and problems by absorbing myself in drinking, smoking, sleeping, sports, sex, etc. In other words, I didn't know how to get out of the deep mud I was in. So I plunged even deeper into it, deep enough to hide from both the mud and myself. I thought, let me embrace nothingness, darkness, unconsciousness. After finishing high school, I had to go into the army, where even deeper realizations of the emptiness of materialistic life were revealed to me. After the army, I went to college, but for a whole year I just experienced more emptiness and pointlessness. Then, the first sign of hope appeared. A student I met at college started telling me about yoga, particularly transcendental meditation. I took up the practice, meditating 15 minutes twice a day, and found some relief. I thought I had finally found the real thing. In this way, 2 more years passed. Then, although somewhat satisfied, I began feeling the need for real purification and more concrete answers to life's questions. I knew about the Hare Krishna movement and had even been attracted by the Mahamantra and Bhagavad Gita as it is. But my roommate had advised me, don't get too close to that sect. And so I didn't look into the Hare Krishnas. On one occasion, I was at a friend's house in a nearby city searching through his books, looking for something interesting. Searching through his books, looking for something interesting, I remember seeing on these books, okay, there's some editing error here, let me get this right. I remember seeing on these books such words as Jing Jang Tantra, Freud, Yogananda, and Yoga, until I found the Bhagavad Gita as it is. An unfamiliar voice within me suddenly said, this is what you are looking for. This is the real truth. Here you will find all the answers. Take this book and read it, study it, surrender to it completely, to each and every word in it. Worship each page of it. But when I opened the book and read the words Hare Krishna, my roommate's advice came to mind, and I put it aside, as if it were dangerous. Later the voice inside me returned when I saw Krishna's picture for the first time. Quote, decorate the picture with flowers, unquote, the voice said. Worship it. Meditate on that person. Unfortunately, when I found out that the person was Krishna, I again recalled my roommate's advice and took the voice to be a hallucination. Still, my resistance was weakening. Apparently my chance Apparently, by chance, I went to a concert featuring a band called Nityananda, a Serbian devotee rock band. The special guest that night was one of the initiating spiritual masters of the Hare Krishna movement, His Holiness Satchidananda Swami. That concert was the turning point for me. After that night, I could no longer practice transcendental meditation. Instead of the transcendental meditation mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra kept playing in my mind involuntarily. Very soon, the Maha Mantra became everything in my life, giving me a feeling of satisfaction and inner fullness. I chanted almost constantly while performing my daily duties. All anxiety, heaviness, and misery disappeared from my heart, and I thought that no one in the whole world was more fortunate than I was. In due course, all my family members started reading Srila Prabhupada's books and chanting Hare Krishna, so that my home slowly transformed into a spiritual world. From reading Srila Prabhupada's books, I understood the importance of accepting a bona fide spiritual master and receiving initiation. To accomplish that goal, I would have to live in the association of devotees. But I didn't know how to meet devotees because at that time I lived in the Bosnian town of Tranvik. So he was from Serbia, but he lived in Bosnia, where there were no Hare Krishna temples. A war was going on, and military forces and barricades surrounded the city. Battles between Serbs, Croatians, and Muslims were blasting in all possible combinations. Serbs against Croatians, Muslims against Serbs, Croatians against Muslims, etc. And to get out of Tranvik, I had to cross all these fronts. Feeling a little discouraged, I started gathering information on how to get from Tranvik to Croatia, specifically to Zagreb or Rijeka, cities that I knew had temples. I did not find any good news. It seems that only Gornjo Vadkuf, a town just outside of Tranvik, soldiers were shooting at everyone without discrimination, even the United Nations Peace Forces and Red Cross volunteers. I waited about 20 more days, hoping the situation would get better, but it only got worse. After 1 month of studying Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita as it is, I prayed to Krishna, "My dear Lord Krishna, I beg you to help me get to a temple." I found great inspiration in verses like Mare Krishna, Rakhe Krishna Morike, More Krishna Rakhike. If Krishna wants to kill you, no one can protect you. And if Krishna wants to protect you, no one can kill you. I decided to put my life in Krishna's hands and to go to Croatia by foot. Before I started my journey, a few soldiers told me not to go because in Gornjo Vadkuf, they were killing people, cutting their throats, severing their ears, and plucking out their eyes. But they couldn't stop me. Feeling Krishna's protection, on February 11th, 1993 at 1 p.m., with just a few personal belongings, I started on my journey to Croatia through Gornjo Vadkuf. The whole time, I chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on my japa beads. After about 10 hours of walking and chanting, I came to the border of Gornjo Vadkuf. I was surprised at how easily I had reached that far. It was night and very dark. From my position, about a mile outside the center of the city, I heard shooting, explosions, and bullets and shells flying from one side of the city to the other. I decided to take the road that would go around the city. After about 10 minutes of walking, I entered a small village where literally all the houses had been burned down. The remaining walls revealed that the houses had been new, built in a modern style. A little further down the road, a haystack was burning, giving off the only light in that part of the village. An eerie silence pervaded everything. I thought, quote, "I don't know what hell looks like, but it must be something like this," unquote. In the courtyard of one house, a cow and her calf were standing, staring at the burning haystack, their eyes filled with tears. I decided to stop there to see if I could do something for the calf and cow. I stood by the wall of a house illuminated by the burning haystack and loudly shouted, "Is anyone there?" The reply was, "Click, click," and then, through the window of another house, someone started shooting at me. Bullets whizzed around my legs and head, bouncing off the ground and broken walls. I ran as fast as I could, while fiery bullets continued to fly all around me. I kept running for about 15 minutes without stopping. "Oh my God," I thought. "Am I still alive?" I was in a state of shock. I couldn't tell whether I was alive or dead. I clenched my hand and felt my japa beads. I nervously repeated the Maha Mantra. "I'm alive," I concluded. "Everything's okay. Let's keep going." Little by little, as I realized what had happened, my faith in Krishna increased more and more, while my old conception of God as some light, some impersonal force, vanished. Because I chanted the Maha Mantra the whole time, my distress quickly diminished, and my desire to get to the temple rapidly grew. For the next 20 minutes I walked and chanted Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Everything was peaceful as I neared the exit from Gornji Vakuf. Then suddenly, on my left, I heard someone shout, "Stop!" along with the ominous click, click. I stopped but continued to chant. "Who are you?" the voice demanded. A spirit soul, I thought. But after a short pause I said, "A pilgrim. I'm a pilgrim. A well-wisher." The stranger came out of the shadows, pointing his gun at me. He came right up to me and stared in my face, apparently a bit confused by my answer. After finding no weapons on me, not even a pocket knife, the man was even more confused, but he considered me harmless, and therefore he relaxed. But then, from the darkness, another soldier appeared, shouting and swearing. "On the ground!" he yelled. As I lay on the ground, he searched me. Not finding anything, he got mad. I was still chanting. The two soldiers started arguing about what to do with me. The first soldier wanted to take me to their commander, but the second wanted to kill me on the spot. And when the second soldier heard me mumbling something, he really became furious. He aimed his gun at me, preparing to shoot. For a moment I stopped chanting, but then I remembered reading that it is very auspicious to chant Hare Krishna while dying, so I started chanting again. Excuse me, gotta take a little drink here. The second soldier called me ill names and then pulled the trigger. I felt something hit my back, and then I saw the bullet bounce off a stone and fly by the other soldier's head. The bullet had been deflected by something in my backpack. "What are you doing?" the first soldier shouted. "Are you trying to kill me?" The other one yelled something back, and again I had to verify whether I was alive or dead. I was still chanting and didn't feel any pain. Good sign, I thought. The soldier who had shot his rifle was now scared and distressed. He was touching me, unable to believe he had missed me from the distance of just 1 foot. Now, I'll just give you a little information here. Dravida Prabhu was recently in Washington, D.C. That's where Sarabhapu is staying now. He's a pujari there. And Sarabha told a little more detail about this. He didn't have anything that was metal in his backpack. So there's no reason for the bullet to ricochet. Everything was soft. But Krishna saved him. Krishna saved him. He was just amazed. Now this really emphasizes this point. If Krishna wants to protect someone, no one can kill him. Okay, so here we go. Then a third soldier came, clearly senior to the other two. He took my old identification card from my pocket and said, "Let's take him to the commander." In the commander's office, I was interrogated for a long time. They decided to kill me by hanging me from a tree or shooting me because the photo on my identification card didn't really resemble me. Still, for some reason, I remained very calm. My calmness really puzzled them. They asked, "Do you have any money on you?" "Yes," I replied. 300 Swiss francs. They looked at each other. It seemed strange to them that I was not disturbed at the prospect of their taking all my money and killing me. In truth, at that moment, money didn't mean anything to me. I just wanted to go to the temple. They said, "We can kill you, we can torture you, we can do whatever we want with you." Again I replied very calmly, "There would be nothing auspicious in that, either for you or for me. So it is better not to do that." That completely shocked them, and at that point they threw away their facade of rough soldiers. Then they learned of the places I had passed through on my journey. They looked at each other in great amazement. One of them murmured, "He passed through Bistrika, but no one can even get close to that place. Even UNICEF, the Red Cross, they can't go through there. Yet he passed through there with his hand in this funny bag while murmuring some Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna." Then the whole situation changed. They became very friendly and wanted to help me. They gave me a place to stay overnight, and the following day they gave me a ride to the next town, Tomislavgrad. But that wasn't the end of my adventure. To get to Croatia, I still had to go through 3 checkpoints with very rigid controls. Even people with all the required documents had a hard time passing through. Then what to speak of me, who had only an expired ID card with a photo that didn't really resemble me. Still, early the next morning, we started. Soon the car was on the road within thick forest on both sides. The road was muddy and winding. I chanted the whole time. One of the 2 soldiers sitting in front of me said, "You know, we really don't know how you're going to get through this time. But if you do, you're really lucky." Krishna, I thought. The recent incidents had increased my faith in him enormously, and I was sure he was listening. "All I can do is chant your names," I said to myself, "and if you want, please help me." We approached the first checkpoint. Both soldiers pulled out their identification cards and some other documents. When asked about their mission, one of the soldiers said he was the commander of a squad that detected and destroyed mines, and that he was on a mission. I chanted in the back seat, trying hard to hear the mantra. The soldier at the checkpoint looked at me without saying anything. "All right, go on," he finally said. I asked myself, while the 2 fellow travelers stared at each other with their mouths wide open in wonder, is it possible? When we came to the second checkpoint, we weren't even stopped. The soldier just waved us through. My companions' mouths were wide open again. "The third one is the hardest," they told me. But what happened was similar to what had occurred at the first checkpoint. The soldiers checked the documents of my 2 fellow travelers and asked them where they were going, where they were coming from, and when they would return. I continued to chant. The soldiers looked at me, but didn't ask me anything. Then we entered Tomislavgrad, a city near Croatia. We were all pleased that everything had gone so smoothly. They let me out and drove off. I continued happily chanting Hare Krishna on my japa beads. In Tomislavgrad, I bought some fruit and offered it to Krishna's picture on a park bench. I had 1 hour before my bus to Croatia was to leave. I was just finishing with my simple offering ceremony when two police officers approached me. With my palm, I signaled them to hold off asking me any questions until I had finished my ceremony. They stopped and waited. After a few minutes, I finished the ceremony and they checked my ID, finding no proper documentation. They returned me to the third checkpoint. They rebuked the soldiers at the checkpoint for having let me pass. The soldiers claimed that they'd never seen me before, although after hearing my description of the car I'd been in, they remembered it and all the details about it, but they still couldn't remember me. Then they received the order to send me back to Travnik, the city where my journey had begun. Again, I very intensely thought of Lord Krishna. Krishna, I asked, are you really going to return me back to Tandvik after all that has happened? But I surrendered to Krishna's desire, though not happily, knowing that in any case I couldn't go against his wishes. However, this last reversal turned out to be just another test. Meditating on the power of prasadam, I offered some fruit to the soldiers at the third checkpoint. They accepted it and ate with satisfaction. After a short conversation, they decided to let me go, although they had just received an order to send me back to Tranvik. They even stopped a truck and convinced the driver to drive me to Posusi, a city on the border of Bosnia and Croatia, where I had some relatives. That night, my relatives arranged for the documents I needed to enter Croatia. The next day, I arrived at the temple of Rijeka. Finally, I met the deities and devotees, and there was no end to my happiness. By the mercy of Krishna, Guru, and the devotees, I am still living in ISKCON temple, and whenever I recall all these incidents, I remember Srila Prabhupada's immortal statement, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. So, see, this gives the power of Srila Prabhupada's books. And it is now 7:30, just in time. Shall we ask if there's any question? Or no? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna Prabhus.